Hello, I'm Dr. Robert Forsyth, Emeritus Professor in the State University of New York System, SUNY Broome. But my grandkids call me Grandpa Bob, so you can call me either way, and I don't mind either of those things. What I want to do is show you how to safely view the partial phases of our upcoming solar eclipse. The sun is very bright, and if any portion of that bright portion is visible, that bright portion is called the photosphere. So if any portion of the photosphere is visible, you cannot look up at the sun without some kind of aid. And that is, you need a viewer. You can get glasses, you can get projectors, you can use telescopes with appropriate filters. All of these are going to cost you something. Well, I want to show you something that will cost you nothing, that will allow you to project onto a screen the image of the sun. And as the sun progresses through the partial phases of the solar eclipse, you will be able to see the moon as it cuts out more and more of the photosphere. Now, these partial phases are going to be viewable countrywide over the entire United States. But the total eclipse is viewable only along a narrow line that goes from Mexico up through Texas and Ohio and Pennsylvania and New York and out through the Canadian provinces and then out to sea. So that's the line of totality, and you're probably familiar with that. And if you're not, in later video broadcasts, I want to talk about some very interesting things that happen during the total solar eclipse if you're willing to travel. But if you're not going to travel, then the only thing that you're going to get, unless you happen to live along the line of totality, the only thing you're going to get are the partial phases. And even if you live along the line of totality, the entire eclipse will take 2 hours, an hour before totality, then about 3 or 4 minutes of totality, and then another hour as we move through the partial phases and out as the moon moves completely across the solar face. So in that case, even if you're along the line of totality, there'll be 2 hours of partial phases where you need some kind of viewer to see what is happening. Now, there are many different kinds of viewers, as I've said, that you can buy out there, many of which are quite expensive, and of course they're going to be very good. And if you're willing to make that kind of investment, then fine. If you're not along the line of totality, it's probably not worth spending hundreds of dollars perhaps on a telescope with appropriate filters or some kind of projection device to see just a little bit of the partial phases. So what I want to show you is how in less than 1 minute you can make a viewer that will allow you to safely view the partial phases of the solar eclipse. That's the hour before totality and the hour after totality if you're along the line of totality. And if you're elsewhere, the only thing you're going to be able to see are the partial phases, and then you need some kind of viewer for the whole thing. Okay, now you need an empty oatmeal box. You need an empty oatmeal box that's got a plastic lid. The size of the oatmeal box is large. Now that's good because you're going to eat a lot of oatmeal and that's a healthy thing. But the famous national brand of oatmeal does not have the kind of lid that we need. You need a plastic lid. It's semi-transparent. That is, a little bit of light comes through, but you can't really look through it and see anything other than light and dark shadows. So it's not completely transparent. It's kind of like a milky kind of thing. The store brands of the oatmeal that I have seen are perfectly fine and work good. So look for the plastic lid, not opaque, not solid blocking of light, but something that lets light through, but you can't really see images through it. So this is not hard to find. I've seen this in all our local stores here in this portion of New York. So the store brands, in other words, seem to be the ones that have these plastic lids. So you need a plastic lid, a large box, and if you're buying the oatmeal, you can just dump it out right into a plastic bag, a large one, and get on to making your solar viewer. Now the smaller boxes will work, but not well, so I don't recommend it at all. It's the large box that we want. The other thing you need besides the empty oatmeal box is a push pin, ordinary push pin. So these are the two items that will allow you to make the Eclipse viewer. That's all you need. And all you need to do is on the cardboard end, right, one end's got the plastic screen and the other end has cardboard on it, is just take your push pin and push it through somewhere near the middle. You don't have to measure it or anything. Just near the middle by sight, pop it through. And now you have a solar viewer. This end, the cardboard end, you point towards the sun. The plastic end will form the screen, and you can look at it by doing this kind of thing. Okay, cupping your hands around the screen and then backing off as you look at the sun. This will block the brightness of the sun, and the image will appear on the end of the viewer. Again, we need to be very careful with our eyesight. And so we're going to go out right now and take a look at this, because I think the sun is shining right now. If we can get out before it goes behind a cloud, then we'll be able to see how to use it and also what the image looks like on the screen. Now for children, many children can do this as well, but they probably need a lot of supervision. And there are some additional safety precautions that we can take when we come back in. But I know you're probably a little anxious to see actually how this viewer works. So we'll go out, look at it carefully so that I don't burn my eyes, and we'll take a look at the image and see how this viewer works. And then when we come back in, we'll show you how to make an additional screen that will block out the brightness of that whole general area around the sun, keep you from getting a sunburn on your face, and help children who might inadvertently look at the bright portion of the sun, because they can't be, perhaps in some cases, as careful as you, an adult, can be. Okay, so let's go outside and see what we've got. Well, you take the solar viewer, cup your hands around the screen, put it up against your face, look up towards the location of the sun, you know where that is, move it around a little bit until you get the image of the sun on the screen. Then you can back it off, keeping your eye safe by uh, staying in the shadow of the viewer. Okay, now we just had a quick look at our solar viewer, and we used it by cupping our hands around the screen, pointing the pinhole towards the sun, and having the screen against your nose until you find it. And once you find it, you back it off so that you can see it clearly. All right, now as you're backing it off, you want to make sure that you don't inadvertently get sunlight in your eyes. Now, a way of fixing and making it a little easier to handle the solar viewer, this has nothing to do with the function of the viewer. The viewer is complete as it is, but what we can do is make a sunshade, and a pizza box or a piece of cardboard, but there seem to be lots of pizza box tops around, and so just put your viewer in the middle here, trace around the cardboard end of the viewer, not the view screen, trace around, cut through with some kind of knife, okay, and then once you go all the way around, you can pop out of the center and push the viewer through, and you want a snug fit, so you should cut around the inside of the circle that you draw with your marking pen or pencil. Okay, and that way the viewer will hold by itself. I mean, if you make it too big, you can always tape it, right? And now we have something very convenient to hold the viewer. I plan to use it this way and sit in a nice lawn chair and watch the partial phases if we have clear weather. I hope we do. So with our shield here, it's quite comfortable to point it and view it. So this is a nice addition to the solar viewer itself, and allows you to point it quite easy if the viewer is tightly fitting into the cardboard part of our pizza box. Safety is important. Do not look at the sun partial phases of our eclipse without using some kind of viewer or protection. And best is, of course, to use an additional shade that will make it much more convenient to not get any of the bright portion of the sun, any of that photosphere into your eyes. So safety is extremely important. With children, it's even more important because we don't know entirely what they're capable of doing. So be very careful with children. This way, if you use the cardboard sunshade here, then multiple people can see this image of the sun. Now, there's a lot more to viewing the solar eclipse. During the totality portion of the eclipse, you can look at the sun without any viewer. So if you're along the line of totality, you know, the hour before you need the viewer, the 2 or 3 minutes or 4 minutes if you're lucky, of totality, you can and should, you must look up and look at the totality, because that's when you get the really interesting part of the eclipse. And there's a lot more to it than that, too. And I would like to see you again next time if you're available, and talk to you about what you might expect or what might be unexpected to you during the total solar eclipse. Some of the things you can see before and during that totality part. So there's more. I want to tell you next time about some hippies who were with me on my first, well, they weren't actually with me, but they joined me on their own volition uh, uh, in my first total solar eclipse in 1970. So next time I'll tell you about that and some of the really crazy events that occurred during that total solar eclipse. Plus, there's a lot more to say too. How to make the image bigger, and it's more to come.